Think you need a ranch, a bunker, or a cabin in the woods to survive a disaster? Nope. The reality is most of us live in cities or suburbs. And guess what? You can absolutely survive and thrive right where you are if you prepare the right way. Today, I'm breaking down the essentials of urban prepping so you're not scrambling when the lights go out. I've been prepping for over 25 years, not on a compound or a 100-acre ranch. I wish I had one though. Instead, just a regular rural-ish suburban home with a family, a job, and a budget. So today we're talking about the benefits and hazards of urban prepping and how to be smart in the city. Now, some of you may be asking, what about the suburbs? Because it's not the city and it's not the country. Well, the answer is it kind of depends. Some suburbs can be quite remote and on the edge of the city, and others are closer to the city and much more urban. You're going to have to be the judge of what you mean based on the comparisons that I'm going to provide in this video on a true urban setting versus a remote ranch, wooded compound, or bug out paradise. To give you an example of this, where I live is right on the edge of the country. I'm in a neighborhood. There's no HOA or anything, but it is a neighborhood. But it's on a couple acres and it's pretty rural, even though I'm kind of still in town, if that makes sense. So you can really kind of bridge that line. Now, maybe if I lived closer to DC, maybe for those of you that know where Fairfax is, for example, maybe I lived in Fairfax, and Fairfax is technically a suburb of DC, but there are single family homes there, but there's a lot of multi-unit dwellings and stuff like that. And it's pretty crowded, pretty compressed. And the single family homes that are there generally tend to be on a quarter to a half of an acre. So it can vary widely what we mean by suburbs. So you just kind of have to make that judgment call. To start off with, I wanted to talk about what the benefits of urban prepping are. For you who live in the city, what are the benefits? Well, one is you have quicker access to resources and services, not only in emergencies, but you got fire stations, police, and really you're in a prioritized situation when something does happen. Most likely the aid's going to come to you first. Second, you have community networks. Basically, they're groups that can form to create barter, mutual aid, and to set up neighborhood watches, for example. The third thing is in the city, you have a much more diverse set of supply lines. And what I mean by that is cities offer numerically, there's more of them, and there's also more diverse ways of getting things from trucks, trailers, rails, etc., into distribution channels like stores or even aid stations in a disaster. In a small town, you might have, maybe you're lucky enough to be on a rail line, but otherwise it's just, semis coming into your town to deliver stuff to your Dollar General and Walmart. And so in suburbs, you've got a mix of everything else. So in the city, you have that diversity of supply lines so that you can, in theory, restock faster, or at least if one of the supply lines is down, you have access to another one potentially. Fourth is infrastructure redundancy. Some cities have it set up where there's multiple utility providers within the city, and those could potentially support each other. So maybe one power company is knocked out, but the other power company may potentially be able to reroute some things quickly and get the other part of the city back on that's on the other power company. In the city, you're going to have more likely access to good information sources. What I mean by that is if you live out in the country, you are probably only going to be having access to like maybe a local radio station, ham radio, maybe satellite if you've got Starlink or something like that. Whereas in the city, you're going to have numerous radio stations, numerous TV stations, more access to emergency broadcast systems, etc. So you've got a benefit there of actually getting access to good quality information more quickly. But with those benefits of living in the city, there's also some hazards that we're going to talk about. One of the hazards is high population density risk. Now that basically breaks down to there's going to be immense competition for limited resources, which means that you're going to have a much higher risk of looting, unrest, price gouging, stuff like that. Second is when you live in the city, you have limited space for prepping. Apartments, small condos, even small urban homes don't usually have a lot of space for storing large amounts of food, large amounts of water and gear, camping supplies, etc. It's hard to stockpile. Third is there's a dependence on infrastructure in the city. When there is a breakdown in utilities, it disproportionately affects cities, where it's common for those in outer suburbs and in the country that have wells, have access and space for generators and fuel for those generators. You don't have that in the city. Number 4 in the hazard in the city is a vulnerability to secondary threats. Cities face a much higher risk of like fire spreading from building to building, flooding in poorly drained areas, and an inability to address crime spiking from social unrest. Number 5 is evacuation challenges. Living in high rises, narrow streets, reliance on elevators can get you trapped during earthquakes, fires, floods. If there ever is an urban evacuation, the routes become congested, clogged. Public transportation may be down. You may not even have a car to get out of the city in, and that really limits your escape options. So which is better? To me, it comes down to the disaster. For those hurricanes and earthquakes that we've seen of late, we see that areas with higher populations tend to get help first. So they get the lights on for the people in the cities, the bigger towns first, they get the water turned back on. And for a situation that tends to last longer, or where it is so large that the ability to bring in help is overwhelming, then the rural setting would potentially provide a better option. Now, given the same disaster hitting urban and rural communities, I would say that those with little to no preparedness, if you're in that boat where you just haven't really started much, that it's really a toss-up between urban and rural, because they both face different but equally difficult challenges. Now, for those with a medium or moderate level of preparedness, or even a higher level of preparedness, then in my opinion, a rural setting provides a much more clear and viable path to long-term survival. Given all the pluses and minuses there, for you in urban and dense suburban settings, I've got a list of 5 great steps to get started with to help you be prepared given your limited space constraints. Number 1 is access to water and storage. Now, water is the number 1 survival priority. I say it all the time. And in a city, it is tricky. If the power grid or water systems go down, faucets are going to dry up fast, and you need 2 or multiple strategies to store and purify water. Now, I have talked before about using 5 to 7 gallon containers, like aquatainers. They make stackable jugs. There's other kinds of like water storage containers. I highly recommend that if you're in an urban setting, to get either a 7-gallon aquatainer or 2, get 14, 15 gallons, maybe 3 5-gallon containers of water, and put those at the back bottom of your closet of every bedroom in your townhouse, condo, apartment, whatever the case may be, and store water back there. Now, that may only give you a couple of days worth of drinking water, but if the water in your building goes out, having even a couple of days water is going to make you put you in such a better position than otherwise. Now, in a lot of times I've talked about how if there is like water problems, you run out of water and you need to go get water. I've talked about, using Google Maps to find ponds and lakes near you. Well, in a city, that might not be a possibility to get to potable water. However, even if you don't think you're going to be able to go somewhere else to get water, I also highly recommend that you do get a portable water filter like a Sawyer, a Squeeze, Sawyer Mini, a Berkey, a Life Straw, something like that. So if you are in your apartment, condo, high rise, whatever, and the water system goes bad, it becomes polluted and not drinkable, but it's still pumping, then maybe you could use that filter and boiling, a combination of the two, to potentially make that water safe for you and your family to drink. Number 2 is food storage without a basement or pantry or a lot of storage space. You don't need a bunker filled with MREs. Start with shelf-stable food you already eat. Rice, beans, pasta, canned chicken, tuna, whatever it is. Just keep your pantry and cabinets as full as possible, and that's your first step. In addition to the normal food that you store in your pantry, just if you keep your pantry full, that usually will give you like 2 weeks worth of food. You can store additional food in under bed storage bins, maybe put some MREs or Mountain House meals under there. Storing canned food in closets, bookshelves, even behind furniture potentially. But you got to make sure that you rotate that food regularly. And that can be a real heartache and a real headache. But focus also on high calorie dense products, peanut butter, oats, anything that's going to give you hopefully a combination of protein, carbs, and fat all at the same time. Peanut butter is great, by the way. It's perfect for that. Number 3 is power and lighting. When the grid goes dark, you don't want to sit in the pitch black. Power is safety. It's also going to provide you information and help to keep you sane. Now, it's important to have portable power banks, 20,000 milliamp hours or bigger if possible. Get solar rechargers that you can put on your balcony or in your windowsill. If in the city, I would really recommend focusing on rechargeable LED lanterns, flashlights, headlamps, and avoid at all cost open flames in apartment buildings. That's going to be one of your number one risks, is somebody in your condo, building, whatever, catching stuff on fire. And so definitely have the ability, one, have fire extinguishers handy for you in case you're the one starting the fire, that you can put that fire out. But then you have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Number 4 is security in a city setting. As we've seen, from some of the riots that we've had over the last 5, 6, 15 years, really, urban situations can present some very interesting security risk. And it's not just about gear, it's about defense. It's also about blending in. I haven't really talked too much about the concept of being a gray man, but basically that just means to look, dress, and act in a way as to not be a target. So first of all, I would say don't advertise your supplies, particularly, really in any setting. And then focus on creating a layered defense for your dwelling. Make sure you have good door locks, security film on your windows, and then figure out ways to bar your doors. Actually, you can buy bars that will actually help secure the doors to your residence. Your next layer of defense is going to be some sort of offensive, defensive capability, whether it's pepper spray, melee weapons like bats or some kind of a stick or sword, whatever, or up to firearms. Now, the problem is, for a lot of folks in cities, there are a lot of firearm restrictions. Whether you're in the city or not, but particularly in this scenario, I definitely recommend building relationships with your neighbors. There is something to be said for security in numbers. Knowing who's around you, knowing their mentality, their situation will help you stay safe. Number 5 is mobility and bug out reality. In cities, bugging out is way harder than YouTube makes it look. Roads jam, public transportation fails. That's why the goal should be to get out before it's too late. Shelter in place if you have to, but always be ready to move. Now, the key there is to keep a couple things here, is to keep a good get home bag in your office or car so that you can get back to your unit. And then next is to have a bug out bag, maybe that's your get home bag as well, so that you can evacuate. Now, you need to have multiple routes planned out of the city. You need to have comfortable boots and a durable backpack that's going to be able to carry your stuff out, pre-stage water and whatnot that's going to go into your bag. And then make sure you have somewhere to go, whether it's friends, family, and make sure that they know that if you ever bug out of the city, I'm heading towards you. And hopefully you're okay with that, because I'm coming and my family's coming, because you're the closest people I have to get somewhere outside of the city. Now, the reality is that even in that case, you may not be able to. I mean, we saw at the beginning of the Ukraine war, and a lot of the women and children were trying to flee the country, and older people just when the war first started, and how hard it was for them to get out of Kiev and then to get into the country on the other side of Kiev, away from where the military action was happening. And that's just a testament to how hard it is to move on foot in a bad situation like that. So highly recommend, if you can at all, figure out a way to get out of the city to some sort of meet-up location, safe place where you got family or friends or distant relatives, whatever the case may be, that you can get to them as quickly as possible before you get stuck in the city. Now, there is a point where the disaster happens. The disaster happens, you haven't left yet, and it's now too late to leave. It's better to stay sheltered in place for a while than it is to try to leave when it's chaos. Because when you leave when it's chaos, it's going to be even worse. So at that point, you want to shelter in place for as long as possible until you're either getting desperate for more food and water, or the situation seems a little safer to leave, or some other reason you have to leave. So to close out, here is the truth. You don't need 50 acres of farmland to be prepared, but that's really helpful. But you do have to do something. So for those that are in the country, you have an advantage if you decide to prep like you mean it. You've got the space, you've got land, you can garden, you've got so many more resources available to you. I can't live in the city. I can barely stand to be in the suburbs. For those that love or have to live in the city, I recommend finding a way out of that dense urban jungle as soon as you can. For those that can't or won't leave the city, follow my 5 steps. Start with water, food, light, security, and then mobility, and you'll be better off than most people, and it'll put you and your family in the best possible position. Now, please drop a comment on what you would do if you lived in a dense urban environment right now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more of me, and please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to learn more about how to survive the first day of a disaster, click on the video above. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.